Hello, I'm Joel Shapiro, and I'm known as a sculptor, but I think of myself more as an artist who makes sculpture and draws and whatnot. I actually work in Long Island City, across the river from Manhattan. Well, I went to elementary school about 1.5 miles from the studio, PS 150. Then I went to the junior high school I went to, which I despised. I hated it. I mean, a hideous place. And I went to Bayside High School. That was good, nice. And then I sort of went to various universities, ended up at NYU, entered the Peace Corps, lived in India for 2 years, came back and did graduate work at NYU. I mean, the idea of making money as an artist is something that's kind of new. In the 1960s, I don't think it was as commodified. So, I mean, yeah, it was interesting to make work. It was more about, you know, a discourse with the form, and if you made any money, great. You'd show it a gallery, the gallery would be supporting your endeavor. It wasn't about, you know, market share. Well, I think I was highly influenced by, you know, arch minimalists. I mean, artists like Donald Judd and Carl Andre, Sol LeWitt. Chronologically, I would be a post-minimalist, but I think all those categories are relatively meaningless, and artists are always trying to transcend any category they're pegged into anyway. Or at least I do. But I mean, you know, art begets art. I mean, artists, it's a big, long discourse of making sculpture. And, you know, you look back at other artists and you look at contemporary artists and historic figures, other cultures. But I mean, it's all part of the same dialogue. I mean, the things that really interest me are the kind of, you know, how does an artist make form? I mean, how is that affected by the world around them at that time? And but I think, you know, the capacity to sort of externalize your interior into the work is critical, and to find some mechanism that allows you to do that. And I think that's what artists struggle to find, some means that's individual that allows them to express their thought. I'm really interested in how form is organized. I'm interested in a kind of immediacy of expression. What are the conditions that affect that? I'm interested in form that's not conditioned by the page, by a plane, or the wall, or the floor, not conditioned by architecture. I'm interested in gravity. I'm interested in subverting gravity, not, you know, acquiescing to gravity. For instance, this form. I mean, this is a configuration, you know, I don't think I would have arrived at the complexity of this figuration building it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I put all these pieces together at once. They were interconnected. And then I ended up wrapping the black ones, they were all wood, around the interior bundle. And, you know, then I found a form that was actually, I thought, meaningful and significant. But I would not have been able to develop this, you know, piece by piece, starting from the ground up. It would have been hopeless. I never would have gotten there. I had to find a new way of joining, where the joining of one element to another element was a sort of independent event. So they came together capriciously rather than logically. Because doing it logically or figuratively or based on any other reference really became boring. So I began to put stuff together very rapidly and using other elements to co-join and this and that. I mean, you can only do so much using 6 pieces of wood or something in any kind of rational, referential way. So I began to cut them up, chop them up, invert them, subvert them. I built a model, did the piece, and I tried to kind of fill the space or engage the space, and it's constantly reconfiguring. It's not static. When you're really working, it's about some big leap of faith. And you also know when you've really done something. And I think that's what everyone wants. You want this moment of departure from what you've known. And I think that that's sort of, I mean, that's the great emotional high of being an artist. It's really great. I mean, that's a phenomenal feeling. You really get elated because you're sort of, it's beyond what you know. You're into some new realm. But you can't will it. I mean, you know, it's sort of, you can will it a little bit. I work large because the opportunity presents itself, you know. And also I was really interested in doing big stuff for a while. Not too big, 24 foot, 25 foot. So if I made something large, generally I would try and use large-scale tools. So the tooling and hand marks, you know, would manifest itself. So I remember when I did the piece at the Holocaust Museum, which was large, I used actual tree trunks at a sawmill with a giant 6-foot diameter saw blade, which left big, huge striations, kerf marks in the wood, which would have been the equivalent of, you know, my doing something here with a small table saw. Well, I think even my small work, you know, has a kind of subverted monumentality. That means I'm ambitious but don't know what to do. Now that show refers to drawings I did in the 70s. There were these open gouaches and whatnot. And you know, the initial ones were those big bold ones, you know, with like yellow and red. I liked the red. I mixed all the pigment, so they weren't color out of the box. I felt that I did everything I could possibly do that interested me, you know, using rigid shapes and forms. So I began to just explore more fluid forms that were very quick to try and capture, you know, my emotional or my thought at the time. They're kind of sexy, those drawings. I mean, I think they are anyway. Some people may not. Yeah, I was looking for a kind of playful image, you know, that was not predictable. And I just sort of carved pieces of wood, printed them, joined them together until I found something that I liked. Again, I mean, woodcut, you find an image, but I think you know, with all work, it's what point do you look at it? Up close, far away, I don't know. It's kind of a little kernel that describes what my work is about, the way parts come together and join, where single elements join together to make a larger element that's original. Yeah, FAPE commissioned me to do this piece for China, for the new U.S. consulate in Guangzhou, China. They sent me plans, and I built a model of the building before the building was built. So I've always used blue and red, and I chose a color blue that was kind of, you know, very vibrant. And what I was interested in, I wanted the form to be engulfed, enveloped in color. So I wanted the piece to be all about this kind of explosion of color. I came up with a number of ideas, and the piece I came up with was highly abstract and very exuberant. That's what I really want, is exuberance. Child's play. That's what we want. I mean, so I really think that, creativity has a lot to do with a certain abandonment to allow you to find these combinations of form that have some significance. In the end, art is about humanity. It's about some confirmation and commonality. I mean, it's a form of human communication, and an important form. And I think it can make people recognize aspects of their life that they may not have recognized. It's a discourse, like having a conversation to somebody else via their visualization. And it can be very beautiful, very uplifting, very spiritual. And it's a kind of portrait of our time. It gives you greater understanding and insight, perhaps.